Weight on folding knives. Holy goodness gracious, this is a big one when it comes to folding knives in the EDC, gear, sheepdog, responsible civilian, whatever you want to call it, community. How heavy the folding knife is a very big deal to a lot of people. Knife people in particular. People who don't normally carry knives do not seem to care about the weight on knives when they do carry them. In fact, if anything, they think the heaviest ones are the best ones. You give them a super heavy knife that they can barely lift, and they're like, whoa, that is a good quality knife. But anyway, right here are a handful of knives I have from my collection, listed from lightest all the way to the heaviest, going from the upper left to the lower right. They're all about 1 ounce heavier from the last, give or take. Starting with our Kershaw OD2 at 1.45 ounces, our Opinel number 9 at 2.09, Cold Steel Kudu at 2.74, Spyderco Manix Lightweight 2.92, Endura 3.32, Resilience Lightweight 4.4, Cold Steel Recon 1 5.45, CRKT APOC 6.19, SOG Spec Elite 2 6.69, Cold Steel Voyager XL happens to be in the Tanto 7.92, CRKT Golf 8.08, yes, it's heavier than that one. Cold Steel Spartan 9.2, it's almost a whole ounce heavier than that guy. Formax Scout 10.18, so about an ounce heavier than this. Schrade SCH 301 10.44. Cold Steel Raja 2 13.11. And of course, the biggest one, Cold Steel Espada XL at 15.16. So pretty much a pound on that guy right there. Weight is a hugely talked about and debated topic in this community. A lot of people really, really love their light weights. And I can understand why. A lighter weight knife, as long as it's strong enough for what you're trying to do and possibly negative situations you're attempting to prepare for, is good. I think objectively, lighter weight knives, so long as they're sturdy enough and so long as they are strong enough, are better than the heavyweight knives when it comes to cutting things, which is what knives are intended to do. Now, particularly folding knives are meant to be carried and concealed easier than fixed blades. They're more compact. Fixed blades will always win with strength. No matter what the locking mechanism is, fixed blades will always win in strength. However, folding knives will always win in carryability, maneuverability. So for starters, I can see that being a consideration. I can see why many people would consider the knives that are lighter weight over the knives that are heavier for roughly the same size. Because again, if we're talking about folding knives, we're talking about covertness, carryability, and lightweight. I kind of see it like mileage for cars. A car that gets 35 city is better than a car that gets 25 city because the car is lighter, or whatever the other variables are that cause the car to have the better mileage. That is a good thing. You want better mileage. Nobody wants a low mileage vehicle. Knives, as far as functionality goes, as far as cutting stuff goes, you don't need them to be heavy. In fact, you'd probably want them to be as light as possible if we're talking objective functionality. Now, there are some more variables on here, however. There may be other uses for the knife. Maybe you're using it as a non-lethal impact tool or just an impact tool for something else other than being a weapon. Maybe you don't want the knife to fall out of your pocket as easily. Maybe you want to know it's on you. So one day you don't put it in your pocket, go out for a walk, come back and realize it's not in your pocket anymore because you didn't notice it was there. There's a handful of reasons why you may want the knife to be just a little bit heavier, but I think, generally speaking, lightweight folding knives are better than heavyweight folding knives. That being said, we are just talking about ounces. Typically, we're not talking about pounds. What I mean by that is I don't think it matters a whole lot. I don't think you'll notice this knife way more than this knife being in your pocket. Now, there are more variables. I mean, of course, we're also talking about the length of the knife, how thick they are. So, of course, I'm not going to compare this XL Espada all the way down to this Kershaw OD2. They have completely different uses. There's different intentions and meanings behind both of those knives. They're not quite meant for the same things. You can't compare apples to oranges, understood. But we were talking about knives that are more or less in about the same ballpark. Pretty much the same cutting edge in both of these. Might be a little shorter in the Resilience, but it's damn close. Handle certainly shorter, a little bit thinner too. But generally speaking, these knives look like they're meant for about the same thing. They're both made of the same materials, more or less. Both got the stainless steel liners in there. Different blade steels, but will it matter that much to you? Again, this Resilience right here, 4.4 ounces. The Spec Elite is 6.69 ounces, so pretty much over 2 ounces heavier than this, but yeah, yeah, I can tell it's a little heavier, but in the pocket, I honestly don't notice. Maybe each user of knives has more sensitivities to weight. Maybe it's just the pants you're wearing. Personally, I tend to wear cargo pants, cargo shorts. All year long, I just wear them. I have nothing against jeans. I just don't wear them for whatever reason. I don't have any anymore. It's been a long time since I wore a pair of jeans. I like cargo pants. I like how they're thick, durable, like how they have a lot of pockets, they're secure, etc. And I like the way they look, but not everybody does. Maybe some people wear sweatpants when they're out and about. Maybe your pants are just lighter. Maybe you wear dress pants for your job. You don't want a big ol' heavy knife pulling down those pants. Again, another win for the lighter weight knives. When I'm out and about in sweatpants, which I usually am not, but if I'm just way too lazy, I gotta run to Walmart or something for whatever reason, I just really don't want to spend the 1 minute throwing some pants on. Hell no, I'm not going to be carrying this Rajah 2. There's just no way. It's going to constantly pull my pants down. My phone and wallet are bad enough in there. I don't have any room for anything else. So maybe I'll step down to something like this guy right here, the Manix Lightweight. Oh, badass knife. So light. Kind of weak, though, if you're talking about its horizontal rigidity. If you're torquing or twisting with something, you might just ruin the internal mechanics of the knife if it got bad enough. That is another argument, though. Again, the heavier knives, another advantage they could have is strength. Not because they are heavy. It's just something that kind of goes hand in hand with the stronger knives. Typically, we throw on liners, whether they're aluminum or when you move up to stainless steel. If you do not skeletonize them, usually the stronger locks are heavier because there's just more material there. The blades being thicker, like this Formax Scout, really, really thick blade on there. That all adds to weight. The less material you shave off, cut off, grind away, drill holes into, the stronger the knife technically will be. And then that's a whole nother argument. How strong does your knife need to be, though? What are you doing with your knives? Your folding knives. What are you doing with your folding knives? What do you need to do with your folding knives that would require them to be that strong? How can you justify carrying a knife at that weight in that case? The argument for the heavier, stronger knives usually is I'd rather have too much knife than not enough. Obviously, the more blade you have, the heavier the knife will be. But we're not just talking length, we're also talking width. This knife right here, Cold Steel Kudu, really long blade on this sucker, 4 inches. That's a pretty long knife. The blade's the same exact length as this Cold Steel Recon 1, but the Cold Steel Recon 1's almost double the weight of the Kudu right here. But you are getting a much stronger handle. We have G10 handle scales instead of FRN, which isn't too bad to begin with, but cheap, thin little clasp lock, which is not nearly as strong as the Triad lock. The blade is thinner. There's a lot of other variables to keep in mind. A fillet knife, I don't have one with me right now. I would have loved to show one, though. They can have super long knives. You can have a 6-inch blade and have the knife barely weigh an ounce, but because it's so thin and so flimsy, that's why you get that weight. Is that something you want to carry? Probably not, but for gutting fish, it's perfect. All knives have their purposes. I see the arguments to both sides. It just depends on what the knife is attempting to be. What that knife's dream is. Every knife wants its dream to come true. This guy, again, Rajah 2, wants to hack through a jungle, possibly attackers against you. It's meant to chop. This Kershaw OD2 just wants to be a little EDC knife, open packages for you, maybe handle harder cutting tasks. You know, it's not the thinnest, flimsiest knife in the world, but pretty small. Weighs less than 2 ounces. That's pretty good. If you really, really do not want to notice your knives, you really don't want to be bothered by feeling a knife in your pocket or potentially pulling your pants down, depending on what you are wearing. As comfortable as possible. If you're confident enough the knife will not fall out of your pocket, that's what our lightweights are great for. It's difficult to reach a super strong knife with weights around this area. It's just hard to do. Once you start throwing G10 on there instead of FRN, you throw in steel liners, you throw on thicker blades, the weight will start increasing. It's difficult to kind of find that fine line, right? Like around 3 ounces, around 4 ounces, right around here. This is kind of the sweet spot, I think, for EDC/tactical blades. Once you go up to 5, 6, 7, that's where some people start getting scared. Oh, that's way too heavy. Some people have specific rules where they don't buy knives over 3 ounces. 3.5, I've heard that one a lot. And a lot of these knives, like this Voyager XL right here, absolutely have good reasons to be that heavy. They have a lot of purpose in mind. This is flush-mounted aluminum liners, FRN or Grivex, handle scales right here. Pretty thick blade, but for what it's trying to be, I think it's in the perfect sweet spot. I think it's totally justified for being 7.92 ounces, almost 8, but it would have been very difficult to get this knife any lighter and maintain its structural integrity. This is a very, very efficient knife, so although it is heavy, I don't think it's heavy for its size and for what it's trying to be. This knife right here, this Schrade SCH-301, I absolutely think is too heavy for what it is trying to be. Yeah, the stainless steel is stronger than the G10 or the FRN or whatever, but if they throw on G10 handle scales with stainless steel liners, any other material, it would have been lighter. And knife certainly is cool. It's got a novelty factor to it. A lot of these knives have novelty factors to them. In fact, most knives we knife guys like have a lot of novelty. They're not 100% functional. There are nods given to style. But when we're talking pure function over form, yeah, you want the knife to be as lightweight, as efficient as possible. You lighten up this Voyager anymore, get it down to 4 ounces, you're going to have to take out those liners, you're going to have to make the blade really thin. Now you're going to have a much weaker knife. It's heavy for a reason. But again, some knives are heavy for no reason. I'm not trying to insult the Schrade, I still love it. But my point is, when it comes to function over form, you can see wasted space in some of these knives. Some of them are just a little bit too heavy for what they're trying to be. CRKT APOC. Yeah, great knife, really cool, love it. 6.19 ounces for about a 4-inch blade. It's those stainless steel handles and the G10 handle scales, which are kind of unnecessary, I feel, for a frame lock. Thick blade, too. It doesn't look like a knife intended for extremely hard work, but it has parts on it acting as if it's meant for that hard work, if you understand what I'm saying. But I still love it. That's why I have it. What do you think? Do you care about the weight on your knives? Does it really bother you if you bought a knife or have one at all, and you realize it's a little bit heavy for what it's trying to be, for what it's meant to do? Does it bother you knowing the knife is not entirely efficient? Or do you not even notice? Or do you notice but not care? Or do you notice and you like how your knife is heavier? You like the way that feels. You like carrying a substantial blade. There's something just really cool about feeling something so heavy. It just gives you a lot of confidence knowing that that knife's there, and knowing that knife's strength, and just being reminded that it's on you. Maybe you want to be reminded that it's on you. Personally, I do not care. I have carried all of these knives, and I love every single one. Yes, even this Schrade. This is the least efficient knife when it comes to weight and size. But I still love it. That's why I bought it, because it's so heavy and it's so substantial. There's just a coolness factor to it. Big old brick of metal in your pocket. You just know your knife's there. But even then, again, we're talking ounces. It's not like a bowling ball or an anvil or a brick of lead is being carried on you. And again, personally, I usually don't notice. I usually forget that I am carrying a knife. Whether it's this Cold Steel Spartan or this Spyderco Endura. Really efficient blade right here, by the way. 3.3 ounces for this long of a blade. Yeah, it's a little bit thinner, a little bit slimmer, but it's not really meant to be a super strong tactical blade. I would call it a medium duty, all around knife. This one over here is super heavy, over 10 ounces. And it's not that long either. It's actually shorter than our Voyager XL, and it's heavier, but it's a lot thicker. Stainless steel liners instead of the flush mounted aluminum. Pretty much a bomb-proof blade because it's so strong. Are you going to be smacking your knives against concrete? That's up to you. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you're a lightweight knife guy, a heavyweight knife guy, if you don't care either way, or if you even notice. Does it cross your mind what a knife's weight is? Do you care if the liners are skeletonized or not? Let me know. I love them all. I think they all have their purposes, but lighter weight knives are more efficient, objectively and technically speaking, I feel. But we get a lot of knives with odd things on them because we think they're cool. Not just for weight, but for aesthetics as well. Even blade steel. A lot of us won't be using a super high quality blade steel the way it's intended to be used. We won't cut and cut and cut for years and hope to never have to sharpen it again. But just because the knife has that, that's why we like that knife and that's why we buy it. Let me know. Thanks for watching.